Hey everybody, welcome to your readings for the week. These are the readings for the week ending February 4th, last few days of January. And we're moving on into February already. Kind of crazy, but it's almost my birthday. So I'm kind of excited about that part. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get to it. We're going to start with Darcy. And well, we continue to have Uranus squared with the sun. That's going to go on for a couple of weeks, so we won't be seeing the end of it next week. I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing the end of it the week after that. And then we have no more planets for Uranus to square with, basically, in terms of planets going into Aquarius. Yes, the moon when it comes in, but it won't last quite as long as it seems to have lasted. It feels like it's lasted forever. I mean, honestly, being on the other side of the square, it does feel like it's lasted forever. It kind of lasted most of last year, and we're almost to the end of it. So that's good. We are going to kick off the week with the moon in Taurus. That's always fun and pleasant. Not quite in conjunction with Uranus. I think we ended the week with it in conjunction with Uranus, so it's pretty much on its way out, which is good. And actually, in terms of its being on its way out, it is going to move into a square with Saturn, which I don't know, it's kind of scary, to go back to that a little bit. But it's also moving into a grand trine with Pluto and Neptune. Neptune's focus being on your support system, Pluto's focus being on your long-term goals. Taurus's focus and very much Uranus and the moon's focus is on your inner closet, so your inner trauma stuff. So this may bring up some triggers. And in the fact that it's squared with Saturn, and Saturn's all about responsibility, these are your responsibilities to your career. These triggers really are going to come up around instances at work where somebody's putting their responsibility on you and it's not yours, or you feel like you're taking on more responsibilities than maybe you need to be taking on. You're taking on more responsibilities than you're getting paid for. This is going to heighten the frustration around that. So usually it's just, oh, well, no big deal. Oh, well, no big deal. Oh, well, no big deal. Now it becomes this great big deal. And you do want to manage your reaction to it, of course, because I mean, you're absolutely in the right to react to it, but you want to react to it in a way that's actually going to fix the problem and not make the problem more difficult than it is. So, of course, anytime you approach something in a passive aggressive way, for example, it sort of opens things up for people to not quite understand. And actually, the best example of that my son was involved in, and the neighbor kind of said to him, "You wouldn't want to come with me." He was moving. "You wouldn't want to come with me all the way to where I'm moving to, an hour and a half away, and unload this truck." And my son classically said, "No, I definitely wouldn't want to do that." And he walked away. He didn't ask him to, he just kind of sort of put it out there as an option. And my son was like, "I'm not that stupid. Hell no, I'm not going to do that." And of course he didn't. So you don't want to leave anything open-ended. That's basically what it comes down to with that. You don't want to leave the question open-ended. It's very simple. If you're going to give me this extra responsibility, you're going to pay for it, or you cannot give me this extra responsibility and I'll do the job that I'm paid for. It's fairly black and white there. When it comes to this grand sextile, however, we're talking about planets coming together to help you out and releasing triggers that are holding you back from achieving your long-term goals. I feel like I really sort of honed this in on the horoscopes for next week, actually, because I just recorded those. And that came up a lot in the horoscopes for next week, is really about your long-term goals and how much past failures or past pre-programmed ideas that aren't necessarily good for us from other people really have an effect on not just your success in your goals, but actually sitting down and creating some goals. I mean, a lot of times we're so pre-programmed with a bunch of crap that we just don't move forward because we're so stuck in all this muck that somebody else pre-programmed for us. So this really is sort of coming together in a way to help you to, yes, it's going to help you bring triggers up, which is unpleasant. But as you're bringing these triggers up, you're able to identify what's holding you back. And when you can identify what's holding you back, you can find a way to eliminate that or work through that. So for instance, if you're going for a promotion and you went through a promotion before and you didn't get it, you don't want to allow that past experience to be what holds you back from going after this one. They're two different, completely different things. Even if there are similarities, you learn from the mistakes from last time and don't make those this time. For example, once the moon moves out of there, we're just dealing with Uranus continuing to be there, continuing to be in a square with the sun, but continuing to be in a trine with Mercury as well. And Mercury is all about communication. So when we're talking about long-term goals, communication has everything to do with that. In some cases, the more you talk about what you're doing, the more you actually put into doing it, because you're sort of putting it out into the cosmos, and because the cosmos has it, it sort of holds you accountable for that in a way, which is a good thing. We need accountability. Every single one of us needs accountability, especially fixed science, because we just tend to move so slowly, or there's so many opportunities to just stay in bed all day instead of getting anything done because we worked hard every other day of the week, or choosing TV time rather than actually moving forward in our goals, different things like that. So I really feel that this week's trine with Mercury, which is a planet that really is all about action, is really going to help you with it. It's almost like it's propelling you forward and giving you a bit of a boost of energy to really put into these things that you want to put energy into. So that is a lot, but I know you can handle it. And that is what I have for you. And I'm going to go ahead and move on to Jeannette. We have the moon moving into Gemini on Monday. Mars is already in Gemini. Focus is very much on self. It's on you. It's on self-care. It's on getting better. It's on getting back into a groove. And I kind of feel like you've been doing that. Each week it's like you have a little bit more energy and a little bit more energy, and that's really, really helpful. As the moon moves into conjunction with Mars, two things are going to happen, good and bad. We're going to start with the bad and work our way up to the good, because in comparison to the good, the bad is not really that bad. But the moon does join Mars's square with, I believe it's Venus. Yes, it is. It is Venus. Now, Venus is like right on the cusp of focus on career and focus on your support system. When it's a you against your support system, that actually puts you in a very uncomfortable place where you feel unsupported. Now, I feel that two things are coming from this for you. One, this isn't about who's supporting you. This is about how you're supporting yourself. And that's very important, that you are supporting yourself. And with Mars driving this for you, there's a lot of energy going into self-care. There's a lot of energy going into you fighting yourself in a way, in terms of your own healing process and your own healing progress. So you don't want to overextend. We've done that. That caused another injury. We don't want to do that, obviously. And I don't think you're going quite that crazy there. But I do see an element of burning yourself out, constantly burning yourself out. And this is where, when the moon sort of comes into this, it makes it a very emotional burnout. So it's not even just a physical burnout. It's like an emotional burnout. Maybe even an emotional can't think of the word that I'm looking for. But basically just, an emotional blow up, just draw, just in tears, sitting there crying, and then you feel better afterwards. And you know what? We all need that from time to time, because you got to release frustration somehow. And to me, that's a very good way to do that. Now, on the flip side, the good side, Mars is in a grand sextile with Jupiter and the Sun. And of course, on Monday, the moon joins that when she moves into conjunction with Mars. So Jupiter's focus is on your support system. Again, we're bringing that support system in a much better way. And the Sun's focus is on career. So this shows you that even though you have a bad day, it doesn't mean it's a bad life. Just because you don't feel supported one day doesn't mean that you don't have a humongous support system the next day and even the rest of the week after that, to be honest with you, because you do have a huge support system. It's just that we have to learn that we can't always rely on our support system. Sometimes we have to be our own support system, because other people aren't going to understand what you're doing, because they're not available, because they're just not in the right mindset. I mean, there's a million reasons why people aren't there for you supposedly when you need to. Your job is to make sure that that doesn't become something that you emotionally hold on to, that's distracting you from everything that you need to do, if that makes sense. Outside of all of that, I really feel that there's two things that it's really important for you to focus on this week. Continuing your self-care regime, and I do use the word regime. I really feel it's necessary that you have a system set up for self-care. Even if you have to set an alarm to do it. And the way that I'm seeing it is, I'll use your crafting as an example. An hour at the crafting table, and then ding, and you walk away for 15 minutes, either stretch your legs or, just focus on something else for 15 minutes and then come back to it. Treat it like it is a work day. Actually, this is really important, Jeannette, because you'll be crafting at all hours of the night. You got to treat this like a work day if it is a work thing. But I also see a little bit of an element of maybe doing something outside of the home part-time as well, or at least that's something that you're kicking around in your head. Not saying that that's a bad thing or not. Again, don't overload yourself too soon. Especially because you're afraid that you're not going to get back to where you were. Okay. In some ways, you're not going to get back to where you were, but you are going to get as close as you possibly can to it. So stop worrying about that and making it a thing. It's exhausting you as well. So that's what I have for you this week. And we are going to move on to Connie. No planets in Leo until right at the end of the week. And right at the beginning of next week, actually. We're going to end this week and we're going to start next week with the moon in Leo, which is kind of a bitch for you as well as me, to be honest with you. Because of course the moon moves into opposition with Pluto. So on Saturday, we're looking at an opposition with Pluto and the Sun. When we move into next week or the next day, which is Sunday, we're looking at a much bigger challenge. So we're going to end the week with kind of a challenge, and then it's going to get bigger. So there's a couple of them sort of going to incorporate the whole weekend in there. First of all, we're starting off with the moon focused on your mind and how you think about things, which is interesting considering all the crazy stuff that's been going on lately, in opposition with the Sun as well as Pluto, which is focused on long-term career goals. What's interesting to me about this is that the emotional drama, I'm just going to say drama, and you know where it's coming from. The emotional drama stuff really gets in the way of you being able to focus on what direction you want your career to be going in. Even setting up any long-term career goals, period. often your focus on that gets infiltrated by other stuff. And so obviously to me, this means a situation coming up that's going to trigger all that again. Now, the reason why it keeps getting triggered over and over and over again, in my view, is because every trigger is an opportunity to work through. And in the last few months, you've actually done a lot of working through, even those instances where you've, like, say, for instance, where you've changed certain names and gave those behaviors a name, and that person is attached to the behavior, which is attached to the name. That is part of healing. It's putting it in the space that it needs to be in rather than directed at you. And even though in many cases it is directed at you, it's not necessarily because of you. And so each instance that comes up where you're able to do that is giving you an opportunity to be less emotionally affected by it the next time. So it's an opportunity. It's not a fun opportunity. Nobody said it's a fun opportunity, but it is an opportunity to flip that. The moon's grand sextile with Jupiter and Mars at the same time does create a support system for that, or helps to create a support system for that. Jupiter's influence is very much on your support system, and Mars, which is the anger planet, which is kind of ironic, is focused on self. So this is also showing you how you can emotionally, where you can get the emotional support for that, but also how you can emotionally support yourself through this anger process. Because of course, Mars is definitely part of that. I want to say too, though, that Mars is not just about anger. Mars is about energy. Mars is about running through things, not crawling through things, running through things. And so I feel like that energy is sort of going to amplify the speed of the process, so it doesn't take as long as maybe it has in the past, if that makes any sense. Outside of the end of the week, just enjoy the week all the way up until the weekend, because things really do feel like they're pretty calm. In fact, it's almost like the calm before the storm, if that makes sense. It does have kind of that weird vibe to it a little bit. Focus continues to be on the home for Leo. And I don't feel necessarily that your focus is on your home. I mean, I see an element of, making a list of things that, you want to get to make home improvements and things like that. For the year, you're compiling that list, so to speak, or kind of, but I don't see you actually taking stock of that this week. It's more like just kind of putting some more work into that, if that makes sense. But also in terms of focus on the home, I feel for you that this is you've created your beautiful space. We'll put it that way. The physical space, you've created your beautiful space. You have your perfect girl world in there. That's what I'm gonna call it, because I'm highly jealous of it. But you have your beautiful space that when you walk into the space, you're comfortable. It's completely yours. Now it's time to, I want to say, change the vibe of the space. And while it's pretty and it's frilly and everything is attractive, you also want to make sure that there's things in the house that just make you smile. Now, you've got the dogs, you've got that adorable little puppy, and you have your Scooby, and those are two very good things that make you smile. I'm thinking along the lines of decorating for Valentine's Day, or bringing something shiny and sparkly, some more shiny and sparkly in there. Flowers, I keep going back to flowers. I always go back to flowers. It just, because of the time of year, it's so wintry outside, and you're forced to go out in it every now and then because, you got to work and all of that. Your home should not be the place that you dwell on everything that's bad. It should have reminders that take you out of that headspace and and invite you to be in a much more positive headspace. I hope I explained that correctly, this because I kind of feel like I didn't. And if I didn't, let me know. So that's what I have for you. Mhm. Mm. And I'm going to move on to Jenny. Focus continues to be on the home this week. There is no planetary activity until Saturday, until literally the end of the week when the shit hits the fan because the moon moves in. And so we're actually going to end this week with the moon, and then we're going to begin next week with the moon also in a much more difficult and a much more challenging aspect, which is uncomfortable. And I'm really sorry to tell you this, but it is what it is. First of all, let's look at what it is. Okay. This is for you. This is the week, right? This is the week where the shit starts to hit the fan. And the weekend is your time away from that. And unfortunately, I just don't see that. I almost feel like it's going to infiltrate into the weekend, if that makes sense. Or the other thing that is highly possible that could come out of this, the moon moving into your sign, is you get through the hell week where everything just starts, and then you get to the weekend and you're like, okay, I can just like unplug for a couple of days with this, and somebody brings some bullshit something that you just don't want to focus on. And I just feel like you're already tired. And once this happens, it's just really hard to react in the way you should react. It's really hard not to just blow your stack at that point. So the more you can do to help that not happen, the better, of course. The moon's opposition with the sun as well as Pluto. We're looking at Pluto is focused on long-term goals and the sun is focused on career. So obviously this is work related. Could even be somebody that's coming in on the Saturday. I'm sure that you work plenty of weekends. That somebody's coming in on the Saturday, and either they made special arrangements to come in on Saturday and then totally screwed it off, like, oops, sorry, I forgot about my tax appointment. This happens all the time, I'm sure. Or they're late. There's something in there that is just really frustrating that they could have done better, and it's really hard for you not to be frustrated about it. You don't want to be passive aggressive about it, though. I mean, that's really the thing that you need to remember. I'm a big fan of diplomatically just letting people know that my time is valuable, and if you make an appointment with me, you're the one that wants the appointment, and I need you to be on time. And if you can't be on time, then don't make the appointment until you know when you can, and you just find a diplomatic way of saying that without completely losing your shit. And then you're the crazy one, and you're a woman, so every time we lose our shit, we're fucking crazy. I don't, it's stupid. Okay, it's stupid. We don't want to go there. Okay. Plain and simple. You don't work for them. They're there to see you, and you need to keep that in your mind. The good news is the moon's grand sextile with Jupiter and Mars. Jupiter's focus is on your support system. Mars's focus is on self. Mars is all about energy. So it's sort of giving you an energy that's sort of driving you through this. To me, the way that this feels for me is Like you wake up in the morning and you're completely hungover and you're like, there's no way I can get through this day, because you got little kids running around going, you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I want to die. And then you drink a bunch of water and you eat something and it makes you feel a little bit better. Not 100% better, but a little bit better, at least enough to get through what you need to get through. And this is sort of what Mars brings into that is this little extra little bit of energy to get you through what you need to get through. And I don't see this situation as being an all day thing either. I see this infiltrating a few hours, like right in the middle of the day. So it does feel like it is an all day thing in some cases, but you have the support. Jupiter is all about expansion, and you have the support in your office, you have the support of your family, you have all kinds of support. So it's just a reminder that yes, you may be doing this particular thing alone, but it's not like you don't have a girlfriend that you can call tonight and over a glass of wine vent all of your frustrations about the BS that you had to deal with today. So once we that's on Saturday. The rest of the week very much focused on home or your foundation, which is kind of weird because this is a crazy week, right? Or not crazy week, but this is the week that the crazy really starts. Doesn't seem like you're going to have a lot of time to focus on your home, really, but I actually interpret this to mean that your home time is quality time and that you're putting those things in place to make sure that once you clock out at work and you're at home, you're at home. You're on relax mode, you're on family mode, you're on anything but having to clock out of one job and clock back into another one, if that makes sense. You're just putting things together so that things run a little bit smoother for you outside of the chaos at work. We don't need chaos in both places. I think that's where we're going with that. So that's what I have for you. And we're going to move on to Linda. We have nothing in Virgo this week at all, which is good. Moon's not quite making it to Virgo this week, so that's good. Next week is a whole nother matter, but we'll talk about that next week. Focus continues to be on those you love this week. I'm actually seeing that playing out as extra time focused on those you love. So maybe extra time with Clark, extra time with your girls, extra phone calls. But this is not infiltrating. This is exactly what I needed, if that makes sense. The other thing that I kind of feel is playing out of that to a certain extent is I want to say that one of them is going to help you without even realizing they're helping you, if that makes sense. Like a conversation with your daughter and how she's got her office organized sort of sets off a light bulb in your head that's like, oh my God, if I did that, things would run smoother with my team as well. So something along those lines, if that makes sense. Which is always nice when you are able to kind of share information like that. I also keep seeing you. I sort of keep seeing you like there's a point at some point this week, and there's a part of me that wants to say this is the way it looks every day, but this is more excessive than it normally would be. Just overwhelmed. And I see more than one instance this week of just being overwhelmed. And it's not just overwhelmed by people who aren't doing their job. There's just a lot going on. And you got to delegate. The word delegate is really coming up. You have to delegate to other people. I know no one can do it as well as you, and I know that that's also not where that's coming from at all. It's not about that. It's your trust that the process needs to get done, and it will get done. And I think that's the fear that you need to let go of, is once you delegate it, it's not that it's not your problem anymore. It's not your responsibility. That doesn't mean that, okay, yes, it still needs to get done. And I get that. Um, but this is about you releasing control of it, not, and that's your lesson, is releasing control over it and not trying to control everything because you think that's easier for you. It really isn't easy. It's not making it easier for you. It's making it more difficult for you. Um, People are going to make mistakes, and it's okay. And I think that's also part of the lesson, is being open to the fact that people are human. We can't, I mean, even Virgos are human, hard as that may be. It's true. So we can't necessarily continue to avoid problems happening, because that's not how life works. Problems are always going to happen, and it's embracing that fact and not being afraid of that fact. I think that's really the big issue here. So that's what I have for you this week. And I'm going to move on to Matalyn. There is no planets in Virgo this week at all. Mercury retrograde is over, not even shadow period anymore. It's like party. It's a party week for you. Focus is on those you love. Focus is on your family or the people that you choose as family, I guess, for a lack of a better way to say it. I call it my extended family to give them a name. But yeah, focus, I want to say focus is on others. It's on those you love. And I kind of feel that playing out for you in a couple of different ways. One, I feel like one person is going to take up more time than the others this week. And of course, it really depends on the situation as to why this is taking place, why one person is taking up more time than the others. If it feels excessive, you need to talk to them about it. There may be a reason for it, and they need to explain to you what that reason is. I mean, I can't say that, I can't just come out and say, if it's your mom, then you should help her. But if it's not your mom, then screw them. I'm not necessarily saying that, but I feel like this is one of those instances where it's okay to take up some time, but it is a little excessive. It's like every time you want to spend time focused on somebody else, they're like, but wait, I need you to do this. And if there's a weird, funky feeling behind it, there's a weird, funky feeling behind it for a reason. Like, it's trying to tell you this is uncomfortable, and why? Why is this happening to me? And that's kind of what you need to do. That is telling you need to investigate what's going on in this relationship. I can tell you from my experience, somebody who's constantly taking your attention away from others is not doing it for your good. They're doing it for theirs. So obviously, anybody that really loves you is going to be okay with sharing you with all the other people that you love. And if you feel like they're trying to keep you to themselves, that's a problem. You gotta lay down some boundaries on that, like right away. And if they don't stop, it may be a relationship that you need to spend less time in. And this is true for anybody, whether it's your parents, whether it's your friends, whether it's your boyfriend, whether it's your, any other of any of your family members, because you have so many of them. You know, boundaries are a thing, and they should be a thing in every single relationship. And the minute when you start off relationships without boundaries, all you're doing is training them that they can get away with whatever the hell they want. And the longer you train them that they can get away with whatever the hell they want, whenever they want, the harder it is to break them of that habit. So if you can do that now, it's going to be a lot easier for you in the long run. It is not going to be easy right away. They are going to resist the boundaries. You have to just keep doing it. You just have to keep reminding them this is how we do things now, right? So if it's, you know, for example, I'm gonna come up with a wacky mom one, okay, which is probably not happening. At least I hope not, because I commiserate with you if it is. But let's say, your mom is like, "Take me to the casino," okay, every single day, right? Your boundary is, "Hey, you know what? Don't have the time to take you to the casino every single day. So I'll tell you what, my schedule says I can take you to the casino on Thursdays, and I will take you to the casino on Thursdays from this time to this time. But the rest, the rest of the time, I can't take you to the casino. You're going to have to find your own way to the casino." Okay. Now that is a big difference between your mom coming to you and saying, "Hey, I need you to help me take grandpa to this appointment and this appointment and this appointment." That's way different, right? So, of course, that's what I mean by case basis. Obviously, you look at each one of these situations in a case by case basis. In the first one, yeah, she's kind of using you for rides back and forth to the casino. In the second one, she's needing your assistance with something that she needs help doing. So of course you want to look at it accordingly to what it is, and not, we can't necessarily wrap all those in the same thing. And that really is what I have for you this week, my dear. And I am going to move on to Theresa Demarco. Nothing, no planets in Libra this week. We do continue to have Ceres influencing Libra. While Ceres focus is on your daily schedule, Ceres focus is on those you love, which I honestly think your focus is on your loved ones all the time. I don't think you ever don't think about them. They're always just kind of there, whether they're infiltrating in there or you're infiltrating them in there, I guess, if that makes sense at all. I feel like part of this has to do with incorporating more of that time into your schedule. But I also kind of feel like this week is more about I want to say that this week is more about not just bringing those people into your schedule, or making sure there's more time for those people. I think there's a quality time thing in there, the quality of what you're going to do. So it's not, I'm going to spend the day driving from person to person to person to see them and spend time with them. I want to organize an event where we can all get together and have fun, if that makes sense. And I really feel like you're spending a lot of time focused on that, for the year, not just this week, but sort of planning these things for the year. I see some planning, around Jake and the anniversary as well. There's something about, I mean, every Libra I've ever known is either extremely sociable or not even close to being sociable. They're very closed in. Those are the imbalanced Libras, but the balanced Libras are very social. They like being with people, and they like being with their people specifically, and they love to be in that space where they feel like they're surrounded by love. And so I really feel a lot of focus being put on that, specifically on planning these different events, and it's multiple events that are, you know, that you're planning throughout the year. You might be planning a little bit more than everybody else is available to do, but you know, we'll see what happens. I'm also seeing this is more a smaller group of people than a huge group of people, even in terms of it's almost like I'm seeing you bouncing back and forth with Jake's memorial, because I really feel this is a big thing. You want to leave it open to everybody, but you kind of don't at the same time, if that makes sense. It's like, you know, I kind of feel like maybe you need to do a couple of them. One that's just, you know, intimate family, and then one that's bigger, that kind of extends out to everybody, if that makes sense. And that's what I have for you this week. And I am going to move on to Regina. We got nothing in Scorpio this week, which is really cool. In fact, this week and next week, Scorpio is pretty much in between focuses. And that basically means you get to focus on whatever you choose to focus on. And I know there's like so many possibilities. What are you going to do, right? You know, you could focus on just resting too. I have nothing to do. Have you ever actually been in that situation where you literally have nothing to do? Me neither. It's usually I have a ton of stuff to do, but I'm not gonna do it right now because I just screw that. You know what I mean? I kind of feel like this week there's a couple of things actually that are coming up for this week. One is I do see some time, like 2 whole days, one after the other, even, where it's like, oh, I've got these 2 whole days off and I'm gonna get so much stuff done that I haven't had time to do. But when it comes down to it, no, you don't get any of it done, or you get some of it done, but there's, you know, you've got when your body says no, I'm not moving, there's a reason why your body is saying no, I'm not moving. It's because your body is like, no, I'm done, I'm tired, I need rest. And you can't expect to work 5 days and not give your body 1 day of rest. It just, you can't do it. And as we get older, we need more rest. You know, we only can work less days, and we need an extra day to rest, so we need 2 days. So there's always that instance of beating yourself up because you didn't get it done. Instead, you laid in bed and all day long and you got nothing done. You did actually get a lot done because your body really needed that. So that's one thing. I have a feeling that happens a lot. It happens a lot to me too. It's not justifying laziness by any means. It's honoring and what I'm hearing my body tell me. And when I don't honor what I hear my body telling me, my body is louder. And that's what I want to avoid, because louder usually means a cold or flu, or you're in bed for a week and you can't do nothing about it. And I don't like that. The other thing that I feel is coming up for you this week, I sort of see, okay, 2 words are coming up. One is miscommunication, and the other one is I know what I'm trying to say, but I cannot. The word is eluding me. Miscommunication and, okay, I'm just gonna say argument because there's another word, but, and I feel like the argument is based on a miscommunication, which means that the argument never had to take place in the first place. So just be aware of when you are in a situation where somebody's like, why didn't you do this and that and the other thing, before you emotionally react to it. Just sort of make sure that it's not the wrong information, or somebody miscommunicated or something, and you might actually be able to not have that argument period, which is always nice. If we can avoid an argument every now and then, that's definitely a good thing. So that's what I have for you, Regina. And I'm going to move on to Theresa Sheppard. This week and next week, there is Scorpio is in between focuses. And what that means when Scorpio is in between, or in a sign is in between focuses, is you can focus on whatever you want, which with your schedule is probably not true. But what that really means is that there isn't a specific set of things that are going to come up. It's pretty much a wild card of things that could come up. But it also, in a sense, does sort of open up some space to work on other things. And that's really what I'm feeling is coming up for you this week, is opening up space to think about the next step, to work on the next step. It's not to say that you're not working this week. I think what I'm seeing is a more of extended time off, if that makes sense, to be able to spend a day focused on your long-term goals, for example, or do some research on something else that you're looking into, or what have you. I don't see a lot of challenges coming up this week. Like, it seems to be things are pretty smooth. Mercury retrograde's over, shadow period is over. Yes, there's always those little delays and frustrations, but I don't really see a whole lot of that. I see a lot of things are just pretty much running smoothly for the most part. And because they're running smoothly, it gives you an opportunity to focus on something that you would like to focus on, but rarely have time to, if that makes sense. So I'm looking at, like, when I say long-term goals, not necessarily career goals, maybe your financial goals, maybe some personal goals, maybe some household goals, different things like that. There's just there's some time opened up to be able to do that. The other thing that I am really pulled to tell you also is I either see you being able to spend some social time. This is a lady, but not your mom. Okay. So I feel like either while you're traveling, there's time to be able to socialize with somebody you don't really have a lot of time to socialize with, or when you're home, it gives you the opportunity to call a girlfriend you don't get to see very often and go have a coffee, something like that. There's something about this connection with this woman that is just, I don't, either it's giving you confirmation of something that you needed, or it's just, I kind of get the feeling that it also has to do with the energy that you feel after you are with this person. It's like your energy is amped up because you were able to connect. It's hard for me to explain it, but it's if it comes up, it's definitely something that you want to pursue, because you're going to feel better afterwards. And I believe that the other person needs it just as much as you do. So that's what I have for you. And we're going to move on to Sheri, my friend Sheri. No planets in Sagittarius this week. Focus is on finances. And that is always kind of a pain in the ass. Actually, it's not. I do see some money coming in this week, or the answer to the money coming in this week, or something good news about money this week, which is definitely cool. First of all, what I am told to tell you by your mother is just because you have it doesn't mean you need to spend it. Not me, your mother. There's something that I know we go through a lot. When you're not having money for a really long time, it's like all of a sudden you do, and you have this long ass list that you've been putting together for a long time, where you just want to go and explode, and just I have to get this is not a good idea right now, is what I'm saying. A little tiny bit maybe, but make sure it's one time and you're not justifying that little tiny bit like a whole bunch, like every day or something like that. It sucks, I know, but in the long run, it's going to work out better for you. That's why I'm being told to tell you that. The other reason is I feel that you may have the money and it looks like it's available and it's not allocated to anything, and you go to spend it, and then next week you really need that money and you're going to wish you hadn't spent it. I think that's kind of where that's coming from. So just sort of keep it to be prepared for something else, if that makes sense. The other thing that is coming up for you is it kind of weird, but I almost see you disconnecting from money, if that makes sense. It's like I don't want to be constantly focused on the bills and what needs to be paid. And I think that because you're focused on your own bills and now you're helping your dad with his bills, and it's just constant money responsibility over and over and over again. And the way I see you dealing with that is just when you're not having to deal with it in the moment is to be very aware of where your head is going, to make sure that you're not still going over the bills, right? I think that by being aware of that and putting a stop to it and refocusing your brain on something else is going to help you to be able to relax a little bit more, because I feel like all this constant bill paying, so to speak, is just really tensing you up, and that tension is getting to you. So you need to turn it off when you're not focused on it, or maybe focus on, bring your bills and your dad's bills so you could do everything at once, and then you have a longer time in between having to focus on it again, and that will help you to kind of disconnect from it. I mean, obviously you can't disconnect from it completely, that's impossible, but you can disconnect from it for short periods, so you're not always thinking about the money that has to go out, if that makes sense. So that's what I have for you. And I'm going to move on to Peg. Focus continues to be on finances for this week, and that focus is moving into relationships. Actually, we're moving into the focus on relationships as well by the end of this week. And the combination of those two, your relationship to your money, is a really important thing actually to be focused on. Most of us don't have a very good relationship with money, and a lot of us are actually, I was really surprised when I realized that I have a really crappy relationship with money, and it's not my ability to make it or invest it or do anything with it. It's about old mindsets that have to do with money, and I feel like that's something that may be coming up for you this week. I also feel that I actually do see some money coming in this week, which is going to be helpful. It's not the kind of money that's going to solve all your problems, unfortunately, but I do see some money coming in, which does sort of help the situation. But I also want to be aware of heated discussions about money as well. So with this money coming in, you may find yourself in one of those positions where maybe you and your husband are not necessarily seeing eye to eye, in terms of how you want to spend this money. That could be a thing, or maybe you're just not agreeing with each other. You definitely want to avoid it being an argument as much as possible. Keep it in the quote unquote discussion place as much as you can. But I feel that it's really important to make sure that when this discussion takes place and happens, that you're listening to what he's saying so that you don't react to it in the wrong way, if that makes sense. I think that it's kind of crappy how most TV shows, the woman is really smart and knows everything, and the man is just dumb. And the woman talks to him like he's just dumb. And I'm not saying that you do that with your husband. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that it's really easy for us as human beings to get offended that we're not on the same page. And so that puts us in a defensive place. And this defensive place is not going to help you. That's going to turn a discussion into an argument. And the more you are able to stay out of the defensive place, you're also helping him to stay out of the defensive place as well. So it's easier to come up with a compromise. And that's what I'm actually seeing as a compromise, rather than one of you wins, if that makes sense. Because I mean, it's for the good of everything. You're both going to win, no matter what. But you just may not, both of you, get everything that you want, if that makes sense. So that is what I'm seeing for you this week. And finally, Mama Sheri, we have no planets in Sagittarius, focuses on finances and relationships, specifically our relationship to our finances, relationship to money. I was shocked, okay, when I found out that some of my money mindsets, the seeds of those mindsets were planted in childhood. And while I didn't really see at the time how childhood could affect my money mindset, I found that it had a very profound effect. And I feel like I need to share that with you this week, first of all. Because that's a thing. I feel like, especially where you are right now, in terms of how your income comes in, it's really easy to put boundaries on how much money you can make. And when you do that, you sort of make it difficult to make more money. So what you're trying to get in the middle of that teeter-totter, and you keep falling off whenever you get there because your balance is off. So I think what I'm trying to say is to allow things to be more open and flow without trying to control how the money flows, if that makes sense. The other thing that I'm picking up on is I feel like somebody may be coming to you to borrow money or needing money. I don't see that that's something that you necessarily can do, which kind of helps the situation, because I don't feel that this is somebody that, I feel that this is somebody that's probably done that before and either not paid the money back or took a really long time to pay the money back. And if you can't afford to wait, it's probably not a good idea. So that's what I have for you, except that kitten is so cute with her little Valentine's dress. OMG. Oh my God, it's so cute. And I love you. And that's what I have for everybody. Thanks for coming and checking out the readings. If you are watching for the first time, if you would like to be on this list, you can be on this list for as little as $10 a month. click the link below in the description and it'll take you right to the membership options. I'm Melissa Bruce, the Heavy Metal Psychic. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Hey, it's up to you to make it a great week, everybody.